Oh, I come to you at the turning of the tide. It's Graveyard Graham's Midnight Ride. A couple of days ago, Lindsey Stirling posted tour dates for her new tour this summer. Um, Geez, gas just jumped 20 cents. I digress. And it was right around the time that she released her latest video. Now, she's been doing YouTube videos since, like 2010 or something. So, for a minute now. In fact, she got started with Devin Graham, Devin Supertramp. He was one of the early adopters of the YouTube model and started making money with his adventure videos and stuff that he does. And she learned how to kind of adapt a similar model. Anyway, my wife and I started watching her videos about 10 years back. It's like, man, this is really cool. The wardrobes and the choreography and the themes of it all. She's got a very creative mind, and I have an appreciation for that. Eventually, I read her book, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But as I was looking at her tour dates this summer, I thought, oh man, she'll be coming through Tulsa on July 20th. And for me and my friends in our circles, that's a date with some significance. Our late friend, Taryn Christensen, may he rest in peace, died on July 20th in 2022. Taryn was the best of us. I can't remember if he was born this way, but he was in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down, but just relentlessly positive dude, very helpful, very service-minded, never had a negative thing to say about anybody. He had arms around as thick as my thighs because he was always doing tricep dips. He couldn't do a whole lot of obviously couldn't do anything lower body, but he challenged himself. His father, Todd Christensen, was a player for the Raiders back in the day. I can't remember if it was when they were in LA or when they were in Oakland. His dad died a while back, but he was still very fond of talking about him and remembering him. And Taryn, also happened to be a big Lindsey Stirling fan. Met her a couple of times, even I think on tours and such. And so, I thought that would be a little bit serendipitous to catch one of her shows on Taryn's day. I decided against it, though, only because the wife and I still have young kids at home, and it would be, even if we had a babysitter who was willing to take a half a day during the summertime, and if cost wasn't an object, that's still a big ask, both of the sitter and of our kids. And I thought, I don't want to do that just yet. I'm not ready to ask somebody to take on a task like that. If you've seen some of my recent videos, you know that I'm working on a book with my son, or rather, he's working on a book, and I'm kind of teaching him how to write, what story structure is like and stuff. Through our co-op, there's a short story contest, or maybe it was at the library, and he got really, really excited about it, but the deadline is in 2 weeks. And while he's written an outline and stuff, it occurs to me he doesn't know how to just sit down at a computer and write a story. He's seen me do it, but that's different when it's time for you to sit down and hammer out the words and actually put something together cohesively. He reads very well, and he's very good at organizing details and information and stuff. I'm just showing him the ropes. And if he decides that he really wants to embrace the mania that is creative writing and develop that fixation and be stuck with it for the rest of his life, then I really want to support him in it. And that brings me back to Lindsey Stirling and her book. 2016, she wrote this, right around that time, she wrote a memoir, which I kind of laughed at because I thought, well, she's 30 years old? She's going to write a memoir? No, at that point, she'd been on the grind with her touring and her album making and all that stuff. Life had been a whirlwind for her, and she wanted to write about that. And obviously, it was smart to write about her childhood and her family and her upbringing because it was all part of the story and part of the process. One of my main takeaways from that book was her talking about how her family, especially her parents, obviously, but she had a good relationship with her sisters too, supported her in doing what she wanted to do. And this was especially a big deal because her father was a school teacher. They weren't rolling in money, but they had to budget and stick to the budget and do an annual budget for a violin rental when she started taking violin lessons. And then she got into high school, and some guys recruited her to be in a band, and she just loved that. And the band was going to go on semi-local touring. It would involve a road trip, and she was thrilled at the prospect. But when she asked her mom, like, obviously her mom is not going to let her underage daughter go on a tour with a bunch of boys in a bus and motel rooms and stuff. Like, that's how you get her back with tattoos and STDs at the end of the summer. But her mom was so supportive of her pursuing her craft, and this was before anybody, like, obviously it predated YouTube, and this was before monetization really became a concern. Her mom was just supportive of her talent and her hobby. Said, tell you what, you can go on this tour, and you can road trip with the boys in the van. You're not going to stay in motel rooms with them, but I will follow you in the car, and I'll go with you so that I can be there, because you're still a kid, you need your mom there, but I want you to be able to do this. Again, financially, that was a big ask. You know, gas and all the mileage and the motels and all that stuff. But her parents made that sacrifice because it was important to their daughter. I think about that now as I'm working these 60s, racking up miles in this wonderful economy that we're enjoying, because that's the cost of raising a family in the 2020s. You need to be able to make that money, and I would much rather my wife be able to stay at home, and so we're the ones to raise our kids rather than hiring daycare or babysitters, as it were, because we need to be the most prominent influence in our children's lives. That's very, very important to us. And even setting aside the economics of the wife working a job just so that we can turn around and pay it towards daycare or whatever. But in the meantime, I need to find what time I have left to sleep and recover and take care of my own health so that I can keep being there for the family and also support my kids in what they want to do. And if my son wants to try writing, then I'll take the time and I'll put the effort into teaching him how to write. I'm pretty sure he's going to miss the deadline for this short story contest, but he's still very excited about his story. He's even talking about, well, Dad's got all these recording tools and I've got microphones and editing software and stuff. He says, I can record the book and Dad can put it on Audible. I said, well, slow your roll, buddy. Let's get the thing written first and then we'll go from there. He's going to learn the process. He's going to find his passion. Maybe he finds out that he doesn't really have a passion for this particular art form. But I figured when all's said and done, it's still going to be a short story, and I'll teach him, okay, well, maybe you can do some illustrations for it, or maybe I can do some illustrations for it, and you and I can team up and we'll do a little animated video of whatever your short story is. We'll put it on the YouTube channel. We'll see where it goes from there. We'll try a couple of different avenues, because especially with digital distribution and creator-owned IPs, there's never been an easier time, I think, to be a creator with a shot at accessing an audience. And I'm less concerned with him getting the remuneration, because, hey, I don't get a whole lot of remuneration from my books and stuff, but I still pursue it because it's what I'm passionate about and it's what I'm talented in. It's the skill set that I've been developing for my entire life at this point. I can legitimately say that even if I don't get paid, I'm going to keep doing it because, hey, guess what I've been doing all this time? And if he's going to find his passion, I want him to have that same shot at finding fulfillment in something. And I think somewhere subconsciously in the back of my mind, I've thought back every once in a while to what Lindsey Stirling wrote in her book about how her parents had her back. And it couldn't have been easy. And they made sacrifices for her. They weren't still trying to chase their own dreams of creative or commercial fulfillment. Her dad wanted to be a teacher. Her mom wanted to be a mom. And they raised 3 daughters, and now they've got grandkids, and Even when they came into an unexpected inheritance, when Lindsay and her sisters were in their teens, they went and adopted two more kids because that was what they valued. They thought that's an incredible sacrifice. And they did it because it wasn't about them, it was about people who needed them, their own kids and other kids that they could help. I've got my kids, and I love them, and I want to support them. And as I get older, it becomes a little bit more not difficult, but costly in a sense to support what's important to them. But I had my time to be completely dedicated to my craft in my 20s and even into my early 30s before my kids got too old. And I'm still committed to finding the time to write and draw and create and all that stuff, but I'm not going to do it at the expense of my kids. Even if Lindsey Stirling wasn't so tremendously successful in a commercial sense, what if she was just an incredible performer, a talent, a dancer, and all that stuff, violinist? Wouldn't that be something that would make you so proud as a parent to see your child thrive that way? She released a video recently that was kind of a throwback recap of all the different numbers and pieces that she's done over the years. She busted out her old wardrobe from when she was, I think it was on America's Got Talent, when she was doing some Kesha number and Pierce Morgan smashed the buzzer and laughed her off the stage. P.S. I love how all of her success is basically a giant F you to that clown, but I digress. And then she pulled out other wardrobe pieces and stuff from different musical numbers that she'd done. And it was just her looking back at the ladder of success that she had climbed to get to where she is now. And she did that by challenging herself and continuing to develop new talents under the umbrella of music writing and choreography and all of that. And I think it's healthy to remind yourself of where you started from time to time. I reflect often on where I was in trucking when I first started out, how bad I was at it. And now it's a skill set that I'm very proud of. It's hard and not everybody can do it. And it's given me adventures and stuff that feed my creativity, and that it's given me time to read, that fuels my abilities as a storyteller, that all of that is stuff that I appreciate. Every now and then, if I look at my bank account, we'll say, and oh wow, I wish that I was a little bit more secure and a little bit more settled. And I think, well, flip it back 20 years. Where did I want to be when I was 19? I wanted to have a house, a wife, kids, 2 cars in the garage, a dog. Frick, I got all those things. I got the things that really make me happy. The money would just make me comfortable, but maybe that discomfort is good. Maybe it keeps me hungry. It keeps me pushing myself. And there's something to that. You guys should reflect on that. Check out this book, The Only Pirate at the Party. It's not only a reflection on Lindsey Stirling's life up to the point when she wrote it, but also an examination of her creative process and the people that kind of helped her to slay her demons along the way. She dealt with some mental health stuff. Looks like that kind of runs in her family, but was able to overcome, and it was a very inspiring and empowering story. So check that out. It was one of the best books that I remember reading that year. And there were a lot of valuable life lessons in it that have helped me since, or that are still helping me now as a parent, watching my own children kind of grow into their interests and remembering just what happens when involved parents support the wholesome desires of their children. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Drive safe. See you out there.